Let's talk to Baroness Diane Hayter, former Shadow Deputy Leader of the House of Lords. She's a Labour peer, of course. Diane, very good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Very nice to see you. Happy New Year.
Extraordinary story. Thank you very much.
Yes, the Duke of York story really is quite remarkable, isn't it? But, you know, there's no fool as an old fool, as they say. Archbishop Welby, no longer Archbishop Welby. What do we call him now, first of all? Is he Lord Welby?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, whether he's... no, he's not, certainly not Lord Welby. He's left the House of Lords. But I guess he's still the Reverend, or Mr.
I suppose he's still got the cloth. Is he still a man of the cloth, I suppose?
Yep. Yeah, he hasn't been defrocked.
Right. I was actually asking this question yesterday because I wasn't sure if he would remain a member of the House of Lords, and I was told he probably would, but you're saying no, he's no longer in the House of Lords.
No, he gave his valedictory speech just before Christmas.
Yes, I remember that. It was a rather bad speech.
And that's what you do when you leave the House of Lords. It's interesting. I mean, the only peers that automatically retire at the age of 70 are the bishops in our house. So we're having quite a debate at the moment about whether all of us should leave at a certain age. But actually, they've always left at 70,
right.
And so he would have left in a year's time anyway, when he would be 70. He was, I think, he was 69 yesterday, wasn't he? So he would have left anyway if this hadn't happened.
Yes. And a rather ignominious end for him, really, isn't it? Because his speech, as you say, that he made in the House of Lords was roundly criticised, and he had to apologise for it because he was rather flippant about the reason why he was departing, and more or less sort of made out that, you know, the last time anybody was treated this badly, they were beheaded. And it was all a bit sort of in poor taste, wasn't it?
It was extraordinary. I mean, I thought that I expected that as a fairly thoughtful person, he would have crafted it in a very different way. I'm sure he spent a lot of time thinking about it, and therefore it was a double surprise, if you like, to find that it was so badly pitched, and not only did he not pay due acknowledgement to many of the victims who remember have to be very brave to come forward,
sure.
But actually didn't even look at the role of the church, and that is the big issue, as we're seeing with other institutions at the moment, where an organisation isn't willing to be absolutely thorough and disciplined in taking on those who misbehave within their jurisdiction.
Yes, and the other thing about Archbishop Welby, I suppose we shouldn't call him that anymore, is he does appear to be a bit tone deaf, doesn't he? Because he had a bit of a party last night, in addition to that speech that he made, which he had to apologise for, and a lot of people are saying it's not really that appropriate to sort of celebrate his time in office, as it were, given the nature of the way that he's had to leave.
Well, I think there's two things. One is it was his birthday yesterday, and I think a little bit of Christian acceptance of someone celebrating their birthday is okay. I think your other point, though, is right. I think it was probably a day for contemplation.
Yes.
I also understand he did spend a lot of time in prayer and in services.
I mean, whatever happened to the hair
again,
shirt business?
Yeah.
You know?
And it just seems, again, I think your word of tone deaf, he must have known this would be covered.
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't seem to put the victims, and actually even more, the reputation of the church. I would have expected that anyone at the moment who has, after all, held one of the highest, very highest offices in the land, and I'm sure is committed to the Church of England, of which I happen not to be a member, but that they would think, what is right for the church at the moment? It's in difficult times. How can I, in my last day, most help the church re-establish or get re-establish trust in its working?
Right.
So it is interesting that he didn't take the opportunity to really put the church first. Although I do understand having a birthday party. Those of us who are very old still quite enjoy that bit of it.
Well, I mean, that may well be, but whether or not somebody else should pay for it is another matter. I mean, if I have a birthday party, I tend to pay for it myself. But finally, I mean, given the conversations that are currently being had, although Keir Starmer seems more keen to be putting people into the House of Lords than abolishing it these days, has this kind of put a focus on the bishops themselves and whether they should remain as part of the House of Lords?
I don't think it has. I mean, that's obviously up for discussion. I mean, I think we all agree we want a smaller house,
Yeah.
and I think if we do cut the size of it, it would be appropriate to cut, every bit of it, but proportionally. I think the more interesting thing is there was some discussion about whether, former archbishops have come as a life peer, and I think that's the more interesting question, because what I hope is that the appointments to the House of Lords should not be used as an honour, as a thank you, as a a sort of a thank you for a job done, but actually anyone appointed as a life peer should come here to work, to contribute, to be part of our legislature. So I would like anyway to end the idea that people come to the House of Lords as a thank you, as an honour, but they should be coming because they have work to contribute.
Yes.
And I think that's the interesting bit in the discussion now. Nobody should be here as of right because they were Archbishop or because they were head of the civil service. They should come if they're willing to put their shoulder to the wheel and do some really serious work that we do undertake in the House of Lords.
Yes, I think that's a very sound idea indeed. I would back that. Baroness Diane Hayter, thank you very much indeed for talking to us there about the final days of the Archbishop of Wokeby. He is, of course, Archbishop Welby. No longer. He's now the Reverend Welby, I guess. And I guess he still wears the cloth. He still is part of the Church of England, but he's no longer running it, and he's no longer covering up child abuse scandals, which can only be a good thing, really. And he's not in the House of Lords anymore either, apparently. So that's a good thing too.